I wasn't sure about shifting gears. When it was first announced, I was hype as because the idea of Tim Allen coming back into the sitcom game was just like amazing, bro. I love Tim Allen. So I was already bought into the show as soon as I heard he was going to be on the project. But then I saw who his co-star was going to be, Kat Dennings, and I was totally caught off guard by that. I mean, this is not a pairing that you'd expect to see at all. Totally different rhythms, different vibes, different comedic styles. You know, on paper, this is a total mismatch. And honestly, that intrigued me even more. I wanted to see how that contrast would actually play out. And now that we've got 2 full seasons of the show, with season 2 just wrapping up a couple weeks ago, I finally feel like we know what this show is trying to be and what it actually is. And overall, it's not trying to reinvent the sitcom or being innovative in any huge way or anything like that. It's just trying to be a classic character-driven comfort show with a real solid emotional center. And if you walk into the show knowing that already, then the pacing and all that kind of stuff makes a lot more sense. But it's centered around the character Matt Parker, played by Tim Allen, who runs a classic car restoration shop. And you know, he's that classic old guy, you know, stubborn, old school in his values, conservative, but he's also emotionally frozen in place after losing his wife. And his daughter Riley, played by Kat Dennings, just suddenly moves back in out of nowhere with her kids Carter and Georgia, and he's forced into being a father and grandfather figure, whether he's ready or not for that type of thing. And that's how they kick off this show. I mean, that's the engine of it, you know, no pun intended. This show is all about repairing, you know, cars, people, relationships, you name it. Matt is a fixer emotionally, mechanically. He only knows how to express his love and appreciation for people through actions, whether it's work or control over situation, whatever it is. He's a fixer. Riley is independent, sarcastic, guarded, walking back into this house full of unresolved history, obviously between her and her father. Her son Carter quietly bridges these generations a little bit, especially the relationship that he builds with Matt is phenomenal to me. I love that, where they kind of have a more father-son connection. And his sister Georgia, you know, she just brings a sharper, more modern energy that kind of keeps Matt from running his house like a dictatorship. She's kind of a mini dictator herself. And at the restoration shop is where you see characters like Gabe and Stitch. And Gabe is a very interesting character because he's a longtime family friend who's been around. He grew up with Riley, and you know, Matt's known him since he was a little kid, and you know, he works for Matt now, and you know, so he's got a lot of emotional investment here and connection to not only the career life of Matt but the family life of Matt. So he's just a great character. He helps establish depth and history and makes this world feel even more lived in. Now Stitch, you know, he's the comedic relief basically. He's a very funny guy. He's always cutting the tension with great jokes. And you know, the good thing about Stitch is that a character that is usually a comedic relief can sometimes be very, very corny, and I think the character Stitch never comes off very corny. It's always, you know, very authentic and making jokes that are actually funny. So you know, at least that's in my opinion. Maybe not everybody would find his character funny, but I do. I think he's a good character. Eve is a character that is not necessarily introduced right away in the show, but she is within the first season, and she owns the dance studio that is right across the street from Matt. And so they go and butt heads all the time, and they basically hate each other. And that's basically her character, at least to start the series. It really has that classic, you know, workplace sitcom and family house sitcom rolled up into one, you know, as many shows have done this. You know, even there's guys like John Pasquin who working on the production direction of this show. And obviously, you know, he was on Last Man Standing with Tim Allen. He was on Home Improvement with Tim Allen. And obviously both of those shows included a view into the family life while also simultaneously having the workplace within the show as well. So this is a very common setup, especially for the people that are making it. But now I kind of want to talk about the sets of those places though, you know, because visually I think this show is phenomenal. They do a great job, especially not only the sets, but the camera work is so cool in this one, and having that classic multicam thing and shooting in front of a live studio audience. I mean, that is awesome, dude. I love that. It makes me sad that a lot of shows went away from that. I don't hate shows that don't do that, you know what I mean? St. Dennis Medical, or a show like Superstore, or a show like The Office. These shows that don't have the studio audience and all this kind of. And I'll say this: I don't like laugh tracks, and a lot of people hate laugh tracks, but there's a difference between laugh tracks and a live studio audience reacting to the performance. So anytime a show can get a real studio audience, I'm always going to be down for that, always going to be happy about that. But regardless of that, the house set is awesome, very detailed, and it has the nice little backyard section, but it has a very modern feel to it, bland colors and just, so on and so forth. But it does feel like a very nice set. And then the shop, I think the shop is the most impressive set to me, because they got the shop set up where it really feels like people are working there. Even in the scenes where the characters are just sitting there having conversations, you got people in the background working on other cars. You look around the shop, there's stuff hanging up all over the walls, there's all over the desks and the countertops, there's stuff kind of all over the place. So it just really feels like a space where people are really working. And then not only that, but they have like an alleyway thing connected to this. They're able to go outside on set, which is really, really cool. All in all, it just feels very old school, and I really do appreciate that. Before we get into the spoiler section of this, the real question that you're probably having, if you haven't seen this show, is this show for you? If you like character-driven sitcoms and you enjoy watching these relationships kind of evolve slowly, and you care more about the chemistry of a cast, more than super huge insane plot twist, then this is probably going to work really, really well for you. Especially if you're a Tim Allen fan, you're probably going to love this, because Tim Allen still got it. He's still hilarious, and his acting on here is great. I think he delivers as well as he ever has, if I could say that. And he does it in a role that's quite different from his other sitcom outings, where as on one, he's the TV host guy, happy dumb character in some respects, to being a little bit of an older character, a middle-aged character in Last Man Standing, but still happy and within a big family. Pivot into this show where he's a grieving, angry old man. Like, he's happy with his work and doing his work, but outside of that, he's a very emotionally lost character and broken character. And if you're a Tim Allen fan, you're gonna love this one. He's still got it. But moving on to Kat Dennings, I'd say the same thing of Kat Dennings. If you're a huge Kat Dennings fan, then you're also probably gonna really love this, because she gets a lot of room to operate, and she basically delivers on her dry, sarcastic humor, as she likes to do. And I think she does a really great job of portraying this character. Now, if you're looking for some kind of new, innovative concept with intricate storytelling within it, then this one is probably not for you. This is probably a show that's going to feel a little bit dated to you, and that's fine. Not everything is for everyone. If you're more with the modern sitcom feel, then hey, more power to you. I like those too. I just also love the old school style as well. Like I said, the show is very steady. It's very warm, and it's more about people learning how to coexist rather than the premise carrying the intrigue to start, right? And after 2 seasons, I really, really did enjoy it. And I'm super excited for season 3. Speaking of season 3, from here on out, we are going to be talking about some spoilers. So if you're somebody that hasn't watched it and you want to go check it out, you don't want to know anything crazy about the plot, then this is your exit ramp. And peace out. Appreciate you watching the video, and I hope you enjoy the show if you go and check it out. Now let's get into the spoilers. I'll talk about season 1 first, and season 1 plays much more like a traditional episodic sitcom, where they have standalone conflicts, parenting disagreements, generational clash, the kind of basic stuff there, and things reset by the end, and everybody's okay by the end of the episode. And the show is just trying to do one hurdle at a time, right? Rebuilding this family foundation. And that's why I think the back half starts to really heat up in season 1, because the characters at that point are already settled in, and the dynamics are set, And so, you know, things start to really heat up. So I think that's basically season 1. And season 2 is where the show really gets good to me. I love season 2 a lot more than I did season 1, because instead of having to get those dynamics set up and do all these things, it leans into these longer emotional arcs. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in season 1, where it gives you this old school style of storytelling, and then in season 2 it gives you the full season arcs that are happening between Matt and Eve's relationship, between Riley and Gabe's relationship, you know, and by the finale, Matt's character ends up doing something that season 1 Matt would have never done, and the entirety of season 2 led up to that happening, where he ends up leaving the country with Eve while she works overseas. And there's the concurrent storyline that's happening between Riley and Gabe, where they start to realize that they want to date each other, but in the cliche fashion, they date other people. And by the end, when they're ready to be together, the finale kind of yanks that back and leaves things unresolved, which, you know, I like that. Keeps something a little bit open for season 3. But instead of that closure, you know, they end on a couple of possibilities. That was pretty much the wrap up. I really enjoyed season 2. You know, I thought they did a good job of pushing the narrative and having these characters change and grow. Riley gets her coffee shop, she gets her new boyfriend, and Matt, you know, he ends up leaving the shop in Gabe's hands while he goes overseas. I mean, just all kinds of that just wouldn't normally be happening. They did a good job of really mixing it up. And in this streaming era where everything has to escalate constantly, there's something really refreshing about a show like this that just lets its characters breathe and be normal and work through their problems together. It's great. You know, I really love that, and I like that it feels very comfortable without also feeling lazy. It just reminds me that new sitcoms don't have to reinvent the game or anything like that. They just need to be well structured, and I think that Shifting Gears is. And you know, with that being said, after 2 seasons, I think that Shifting Gears is actually just pretty solid. Is it all-time great or anything like that? No, not at all, not at all. But I do think it's worth watching if you're more into that classic sitcom feel.